Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Facebook family. Good morning, people all around the world. Wanted to start right back on today's lesson. So we've been coming to you all every single week here with a different lesson. And we've been in the Getting Better series here on Sunday mornings. The Getting Better series have been talking about it's going to get better. It's got to get better because God's word said it's going to get better, and we have to believe that it's going to get better because we don't live under the same rules and guidelines that this world is. God's rules supersede the rules of this world. God's rules, matter of fact, the rules that they even have in this world are the rules that they've taken from the Bible. This country often they have to say here in the United States of America that the rules that they have here were biblically based, that the rules that we have here are rules that they've taken from the Bible and built the rules of this country off of. So the rules here are biblically based. But I want to talk to you, subject on today would be, we don't die, but we multiply. We don't die, but we multiply. And what do I mean by that? So here the last couple of weeks we've been talking about from the series, good morning, Brother Sean. We've been talking about from the series, it's getting better. And life is going to get better. It has to get better because God is putting people in position that turmoil and things are going to come and get so bad that people are going to get in a point that they're going to run. And it has to be set up that way because people have to get into a point that their situation gets so bad that they're pushed to God. And that's what God does with us is that he, when we become saved, that now he uses those things of this world to push us to perfection, but he also uses those things to push them towards him because God is a choice. God doesn't force himself on anybody. God has given us free will, right? We can freely choose to serve him every single day, and we can freely choose to leave him every single day. And that's the kind of God that we serve. And I'm glad that we serve a God like that gives us free choice. So I want to talk to you the subject today. We don't die, we multiply. Forget me and think we. We don't die, we multiply. Let's think, forget me, let's think we. So what I want to talk to you from the subject, from the book of Genesis. And we're going to talk a little bit about the life of Joseph. Genesis 37, and I'm in verses 3 through 6, and we're going to do a little bit of reading today, but I hope this is going to be very confident to you that you're going to find a lot of different things that we're going to talk about here that's going to be hit home and some things to think about. And you're probably never going to have seen this story of Joseph from quite this perspective before. You've probably never seen it quite taught this way before. So it's talking about Joseph here. It says, now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children. So now the Bible right here is telling us that Israel, Joseph's father, had loved him more than he loved all his other children. Now we know those who have children, you shouldn't do that, right? You should love all your children the same. Jesus loves us all. He loves us all the same. But we call ourselves God's what? Favorite. And then we have God's favor. And God is, actually right here, Israel is showing what his favor on who? Joseph. So when Joseph has his favor, Joseph is already being what? Called out. He's being singled out. And when you're being singled out, that puts added what? Pressure on you. Or also at the same time, it gives you some favor, so to speak, right? Meaning that you have things that other people can't get necessarily, that you can get things that other people, or you can ask for things that other people may necessarily get. And the Bible says this, then it says, because he was the son of his old age. And that's what was special about him. It wasn't anything else special about him, but it was because his dad had him later on in life. And, we don't know. The Bible didn't give any detail, but maybe it was the things that, he thought maybe he couldn't have children that late. We often see this kind of thing, go on. And then it goes on to say, and he made him a coat of many colors. Now, often people just go here and they talk about this coat and they just leave it at that. A coat, maybe it was just a fashion statement. It was something really nice. And we know that anything at this particular time, one of the harder things to do is to get dye, right? And anything that's colorful, number one, is very expensive, right? You think about things coming pretty much white. And and then you can either have white or you have one other color. But to have something of multiple colors meant that it was what? Of high craftsmanship. Think about it. If you have something that has multiple colors in it to this day, like if you even look here at my tie, that right there takes a lot of different dye work to be able to get this color and this fabric like this. So this fabric was not probably a very cheap fabric, right? Because somebody had to take the time to make sure that all the dyes didn't bleed over each other and all this kind of stuff. So even today, we can do this kind of fairly easily now. But can you imagine back in Joseph's day how hard this was to do? So that right there will also do what? Point him out even more. But you know what God laid on me this morning? And I never saw it until this day. This coat of many colors, this is what I believe the Spirit of God was telling me, represented something more than just him being favored out and him just being anointed as the favorite. This coat actually was more prophetic than anything. Think about it for a moment. What his father was doing to him. Now we know in biblical times what the father does. The father, by prophecy or by proclamation, tells the children what they're going to be. Even now, your father speaks life over you. That's why the fathers are so important, that they need to be in the home. Amen. Even right now, what I'm doing right now, my father spoke this over me. Because you know what my father does? Right now, he's at his church. He's probably doing what I'm doing right now. You know what I'm saying? That's why they said the apples don't fall far from the tree. It's in my bloodline. It's an inheritance. Do you see what I'm saying? So, what I believe this coat to be, and what I felt the Spirit drop on me, is that this coat is, his head is actually, when he puts this coat on, he's putting on a mantle of many nations. Many colors. What? Many people. Many colors, many people. Right? So this is a coat of, I want to say many colors of many nations. So now he's walking around with a mantle of many nations.
Do you think those colors represent his brothers and their nations?
But that's the part I'm getting at. Because remember what happens as we go through the story. And that's what I'm getting at. Because remember that my subject today is what? We don't die. We multiply. Forget me and let's think who? We. Because see, when we talk about getting better, and God is going to make it better, yes, he's going to make it better, but he's going to make it better. Why? When we change our mindset. And this is what happens to Joseph, and this is the whole point I want to bring to you today, is that Joseph does not reach destiny until he gets out of thinking about who? Myself. And many of us are not going to reach destiny until when? We stop thinking about who? Me. That's our problem, is that we're thinking about us and we're thinking about me and not who? Us. We're thinking it's about me and not us. And when we figure out ME is not ME when it should be US, then US figures out ME is included. And ME has to be highly taken care of because ME's got to make sure US is taken care of. Remember, God works just the opposite of what we think. You see how that thing works? So if you want ME to be taken care of, you need to take care of US. Because if US is taken care of, ME's got to be taken care of. Because ME's got to make sure that US is taken care of. And this is what God is doing with Joseph. And I never saw this story like that this morning until today. And I was sitting there thinking, because I've been pulling word after word after word every day this week. Y'all know that, right? And to be honest, after a while, that gets kind of tough, right? And I'm like, okay, God, I'm being drained here, Lord. I need to fill this vessel up. And I'm like, Lord, what do you, we've been in this vein. What are you going to? And this morning when I woke up, that's what he said, speak. And this is what he gave me this morning. And that's why I was late. Right? And I'm like, Lord, I'm about to be late. Then I had a physical challenge trying to get here. And then I got here and I'm like, oh. But you know what? Nonetheless, I'm going to speak this word, right? Because somebody needs to hear this. And if I need to do it again for the next 3 weeks, I will. Because it's not about me. It's about us. And through Joseph, God does what? Let me go in this because I don't want to get too far here. Y'all pushing me. Okay. So then he says this. So the coat of many colors is actually more of a precursor to him covering of all the nations. So Joseph is walking around with what? A type of the nations or a mantle of the nations on his back. But what does a coat do? A coat does what? It protects us. So not only is Joseph walking around with this, so he's carrying the nations on his back, but the nations are also indirectly protecting him. Wow. And to the appointed time. So then this is what happens. Then he says, and his brothers saw that their father loved him more, and that all the brothers that hated him could not speak peaceably to him. They hated him. They hated him because of his favoritism. Right? Now, some people hate you just because of who you are. I have probably some haters too. I don't, be honest, I don't know. I tell my wife all the time, I say, baby, if I got enemies, I don't know them, but I find that not to be true. I'm starting to find some of them now. And to be honest, I don't like it because I like to think I like everybody and I want everybody to like me. But I'm finding out, Peter, that wake up, that's not going to happen either. As much as I like it to happen, it's not going to happen, right? They hated Jesus, so why do I think I get a pass too, right? So then he says, and Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told his brother, and they hated him yet the more. Now you start running your mouth about things, right? And you know what? We as believers, sometimes we don't run our mouth because we want people to feel bound or nothing like that. We're excited about it, right? Yeah. I want you to celebrate. But what I find out is that you in Lowly Bar, you in the pits, so you can't celebrate with me because I'm telling you where God is taking me and you're going in exactly the opposite direction. So therefore, you don't celebrate with me. You find a way to try to sabotage me. Do you see what I'm saying? So now we got to start being what? Careful. Remember we talked about on Friday, the power of the tongue. But sometimes the power of the tongue is to shut the tongue up.
Amen.
Because some people are going to be there to discourage you along the way. You got to be careful who you tell your dreams to now. Right? And this is what happens here. But see, people would have thought, but this is the thing. And I feel Joseph on this because you would have thought the people you could tell it to would have been your family. The one person you thought you could tell would have been what? Your own brothers and sisters, right? My own brothers and sisters in Christ, because these are the ones when they get tough, I'm thinking they're going to be there to support me, right? Because they're the ones that saw me when I was in my grit and my grind. But then right now I'm going to find out they're the same ones that are going to tell me that I can't do it. Interesting, right? They're going to be the ones that tell me I can't do it. That I'm not worthy. That I can't do it. Ain't that interesting? The same ones that helped me when I was down, now all of a sudden telling me that I'm not worthy enough to do it. Huh? That's what haters do, right? So then he goes on and he says this, and he told them to dream. So this is the thing is, they become jealous. But see, this is the thing you got to realize. See, when people become jealous of you and your dream, what they don't realize is this. And catch this. This is important. You got to catch this. People see, when they hear about dreams and all this, all they see is end results. When I tell you I got a doctorate degree, all you see is I got a doctorate degree. You don't see the 8 years I drove up and down the NC, drive up and down 40 highway, an hour and a half sleep. Wow. You don't see the years that I spent up in the computer. The years my wife went to bed by herself because I was sitting up at the computer, I was studying. You don't see the student loan bill that I got. You know, all you see is, oh, he got a nice house. You know, he got a decent career. He has a nice family. He wears nice clothes. You see that part, right? And you see the dream being fulfilled. And that is cool, right? And I love that part too. But you're jealous of the wrong thing, baby. Because it comes with a cost. It costs you something. So when you're being jealous of it, ask somebody, yeah, you can be jealous, but are you willing to pay the cost? It's not free, baby. It never is. It never has been. And if somebody tells you it's free, they lied to you. They lied to you. And you can tell them I told you. They lied to you, didn't they, Sean? They lied, didn't they? It's not free. So here, they jealous of Joseph, but they don't know what Joseph is about to go through. They do not know what Joseph is about to occur. All they see is that Joseph got this coat of many colors. That Joseph like he's balling out of control. It looks like Joseph got everything the daddy got. It looks like Joseph got everything the daddy didn't set up for him. But all they see is Joseph is doing it. Joseph is doing it big. But they just don't know what Joseph is about to go through. And you know what Joseph's about to go through? He's about to go through it at whose hand? Their hands. But remember, it's not about you, baby. It's not about you. Let's go on and see what he says. Then he goes on. I skipped down to Genesis 9 and 13. Then Joseph said, and yet he dreamed another dream. Behold, and he dreamed more, and behold, and the sun and the moons and the 11 stars made obstinate to me. And he told his father and his brethren, and his father rebuked him and said unto him, what is this dream that thou hast dreaming? Now, this is the part I found very interesting. Joseph, now the one person you thought you can depend on would at least be your parents, right? So Joseph was like, Dad, I had this dream. And you know what his dad did? His dad rebuked him. That's tough. I don't know about you. I mean, most people, we love their parents. I have an awesome relationship with my parents. I have some great parents. I do. God has blessed me with a wonderful set of parents. I love them dearly. But to get rebuked by your father when you know this is what God has showed you, woo, that's a tough one, even for me. And I know I got godly parents. That's tough. But sometimes when you realize when God has showed you something, you got to step out on that thing by yourself. When you know in your heart of heart and you got to be able to step out on by yourself and say, well, you know what? Because there comes a time when you got to leave and walk out by faith. If God has showed you that thing, you got to believe and trust on him, baby. And you know what? I can show you better than I can tell you. You can see it later better than you can see the results of this later. And this because what happened is what Joseph steps out and does ends up saving the dad too. Right? So then he goes on and says this. I mean, you got to think that thing had to hurt, bro. That thing had to hurt. So then he goes on and said, the dad rebukes him, and he goes on, and he walks out on himself, and then he goes on. I'm going to skip down to, now I'm in Genesis 37, 18 through 20. And it says, so what happens is after he gets rebuked, the brothers go on, and the brothers are out tending their flocks. And then the dad sends Joseph out. They actually out at lunch. He sends Joseph out to them out at lunch. And then Joseph's going out there to basically go get them for, I think it was a meeting or to take them lunch or something. And what happens is, as Joseph is coming, this is what happens. And this is Genesis 37 there, verse 18. And it says, and when they saw him afar off, even before he came unto them, they conspired against him to slay him. See, your enemies see you before you even come. See, the enemy has already ensnared a trap before you even get there. Y'all listening to me out here on Facebook, Periscope, and right here? That's how God already knows where the traps are. Because they already see you coming, so it takes them time to prepare the trap for you. So if you're listening to God, if you're walking by faith and not by sight, see, remember, if you're looking for the trap, that's when you're going to miss it. You got to listen to God because he'll tell you which way to go. Because the trap is before you, right? He'll tell you because he always has a way of escape. So he's telling him, and then he says, what? They see him before he even comes. They seeing you before you come. You think you walking around there looking like $1 million. You doing your thing, minding your own business. Because you can be minding your own business, just doing your thing. And they see you before you coming. And they setting you up before you even get there. And you don't even know it. See, sometimes when some of us, and I fall into this category, we want things and things seem like they in delay. Sometimes they in delay because God got to work it out. He's got a plan. He got to let them fall in their own trap sometimes. So sometimes you and I as believers, we can't be in a rush. Because why? Because God has got it set up that they can fall in their own traps, baby. So we got to be patient. We got to be patient. So then he goes on, and this is what he goes on and says, and he says this. And then it says, and when they saw him afar off, they had come unto him to conspire. And they said one to another, behold, this dreamer. And you know what I've come to realization is? You know what a dream is? A dream is nothing but a mission that's not completed. Think about that for a second. Your dream is nothing but a mission that's not completed if you choose to accept it. You don't have to choose to accept the mission. The mission would just be what? It would go undone. But a dream is nothing but a mission that's uncompleted. And if you choose to complete the mission, then it's done. So a dream. Yes, the dream is the mission and it's uncompleted. So here comes the dreamer. So they see him and he has this mission. And Joseph is on a mission. Because Joseph's mission is what? God is going to put him into place so that off his back, all these nations are saved and millions are going to make it. So now Joseph is coming, and when Joseph is coming, and what happens in Joseph, we know the story of Joseph. Joseph goes through all these things. And the whole time when Joseph is going through all these things, we know that Joseph does not lose his integrity. Joseph actually builds his skill level. So what I'm telling you on today here in this church, in Periscope, and there on Facebook, when you're going through your things, notice that God is working you out of you. Because what you have, your skill set, the things that God has given you, it's not for you. It's for the edification and the glorification of God. But you're there to build your skill set. And while you're building that, it's there for you to be able to help and pull somebody else up. And in the meanwhile, while he's doing that for you and bringing you up, all of this, you bringing somebody else up in the whole thing. It's not about you. But in the midst of you doing that, you get blessed too. That's what it's about. And this is what he's doing for Joseph. So he's working Joseph out of Joseph. Because if he gave Joseph the crown and put Joseph over Egypt, when Joseph was here, Joseph would have been bitter. And you know what Joseph would have did? Joseph would have killed all of them. Joseph would have let them stay up there and die. But God had a plan, because God needed what? All his children of Israel to do what? To come to Egypt to be protected from the famine. And he needed them to do what? To be in there, to grow and to prosper, because that's where all the resources were for the next 400 years. And they lived where? In Egypt. Chilling under Pharaoh. Pharaoh fed them. God, the enemy, fed the children of Israel for 400 years. How do you get your enemy to feed you for 400 years? You listen to God. And he did that through by who? One man being obedient to God, who didn't get bitter because of what he went through. So I'm telling somebody out here today, you know what? You're going through some stuff. Yeah, some things have been done wrong to you, and you went through some situations, and I get that, okay? But what I'm telling you, you got to select better. It's going to get better, because it's never been about you, but it's God using you for his glory, baby. It's God using you for his glory. And when you get to the point and you understand that, you're going to see things start to turn around and it's going to work in your favor. And then when you get there, you're going to understand it's never been about you, but you're just a manager of God's resources. And now that you're a manager of God's resources, you're going to open up doors for other people, and you're going to be okay with it. And you're going to be all right. And everybody's going to what? They're going to eat off the fat of the land because of you. Now somebody need to accept that and praise God for that, because that's good. And that's what it's about. And that's what God is doing. And that's what he did. So all this that Joseph goes through is conditioning him. Him and Potiphar's house is teaching him what? To be honest. Yes? Because sometimes when you're in leadership, you're going to be in some compromising situations. I'm telling you from experience. When they leave millions of dollars in your hand, you can put it in your pocket, and maybe nobody might not know, but it always catches back up with you. When you can dib and dab and think nobody's getting away, you think you're getting away with it. See, your witness bears all of that. But God sees it all. Exactly, Sean, right? So this is what he's preparing him for. And now he's what? Then God raises him up to be at Pharaoh's second hand. Then comes a point where he's able to what? Bring all his brothers and sisters to the kingdom of God. And when they were out there dying, and those who don't know the story, what happens is that there's a famine in the land, and now Joseph comes from the prison to be second in command. Basically, he's vice president over the whole land of Egypt. And because of that, he brings his brothers. His brothers come in, and he brings them in, and from his brothers become the 12 tribes of Israel, as we know the Israel today. And that's how we get all the Israel and the Israelites, and they go to Egypt. And now that story that you all know, as when Moses comes in and he takes the children of Israel out of Egypt, that's how we get to that story. That's how they got in Israel. They got there because Joseph brought them there, because Joseph brought them there for protection 400 years earlier. They came in there as basically, I think it was 37 people. And when they left well over 1 million. So that's how you go in as 37 and you come out as 1 million. We don't die. We just what? Multiply. When we do what God tells us to do, we don't die, we multiply. I don't care what circumstance God put you in. I don't care what circumstance the enemy try to sting you in. When you go in there and you do what God's telling you to do, you don't die, baby. You multiply. I don't care what situation that they try to put you in. I don't care who's lied on you. As long as you hold your integrity about you and put your lines girded about you and hold on by faith, we don't die. We do what? We multiply. So somebody needs to take hold of that word on today and believe that, you know what you in right now, you don't die, you multiply. And this is what happened to Joseph. And I read the final part of that story right here in Exodus 1:5 through 10. And it says this, and it says, all the souls that came out of the loins of Jacob were 70 souls. For Joseph was in Egypt already. And Joseph died, and all his brothers, and all the generations. And the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly and multiplied and waxed exceedingly mighty. And the land was filled with them. They took over Egypt. Now there arose a new king over Egypt. Now remember the Pharaoh that Joseph was under dies. And he said unto the people, behold, the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Meaning that it was more of them than it was them. And come on and let us deal with them wisely, lest they multiply and come to pass that we fall out any war. They join us into our enemies. They fight against us and so get them out of the land. And this is how we get to the part where Moses actually starts to come onto the scene in the book of Exodus. Because what happens is in Genesis, Joseph brings them all to Egypt, and for 400 years, everything is great. And then rises, after a couple of pharaohs die, now you get this old pharaoh, this new pharaoh that comes up. He knows nothing about Joseph. He knows nothing about the promises that the other pharaohs give. And this is what happens often. Sometimes people forget things, and people forget promises that were made down the line. And now new leadership comes in, and now they whack out everybody because what they see is a threat. Because what they see now is there's more Israel people here than there is Egyptians. And now they're worried about if these Israel people decide at any point in time that they want to take over this place, to be honest, they can. But they don't realize who they are and the power that they have. So this is where that part comes in. So I ask you all today, you pray my strength in the Lord, and I hope that you realize, we don't die, we multiply. It's not about us. Forget about us and forget about me, and let's think about we and watch your things in life turn around. Because it's going to get better. It's got to get better. But God's got to condition us to be able to receive better. I ask that you all pray my strength in the Lord. You all have a great week. God love you. God bless you. And have a great one.